Hey, all right. You're listening to the Dead Man's Tone podcast, a show broadcast live from a trailer park deep in the heart of Meth County, Texas. I'm your host, Mr. Deadman. With me is SK Barrett, a life coach that can unfuck your life if you'll let him. Tammy's out. She's out. I think she's hunting ghosts or something. I don't know. Tomorrow she's hunting ghosts. What's her excuse tonight?
She's got like date night or something.
Oh,
I could have had a date night.
you could have.
Well, I mean, theoretically.
Oh man, I was praying for you, dude. I was praying that, man, when SK finally, have something lined up. I mean, come on.
Nah.
No? Damn it. You hope for a miracle. I'm sorry, SK. With us tonight, we have Tone. We'll look up your last name real fast so I don't butcher it. Wait. Tone Milazzo. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
There we go. Talk about smooth landing right there. Very
Nailed
smooth.
it.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to see me get totally, if you want to see the host get completely smashed over here, I'm taking shots of vodka for $5 donations. There's that right there. Oh, I'm such a grift king over here, grifting for $5. Look at that. But it's my liver on the line, motherfucker. So I think you can do that. All right. So I don't have any other announcements, so we could just get right into this. You ready, Tone? You ready?
I am so ready.
All right, let's do this. So first off, who are you and what do you do?
Tom Milazzo, I'm here in the capacity of author. So my first book, this is the one we're mostly talking about because it's the ChiZine book, is Picking Up the Ghost, which was written as a young adult urban fantasy about ghosts, lies, and voodoo. A 14-year-old boy living in a town that's dying on the Mississippi has to get in contact with the ghost of his father in order to undo a curse that's been inflicted on him. In the process, he learns how to practice voodoo and has a series of unreliable magic educators he goes through.
Oh, I like that unreliable part.
Like,
and then the book that's coming up in May of next year is, yep.
I was gonna say, like, they're purposely trying to mess with him,
Here we go.
like playing pranks. Are you still there?
Well, they all have their own agendas.
Okay. Okay. I like that. Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah. Much like our own education system.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
And then the book.
Well, there's a lot of, guilds. I mean, the whole point of a guild, for example, and I don't know that these people are part of a guild, but the concept of a guild is to operate as a leading factor for the number of people that enter a profession, so that the wages stay high.
Yeah. And a source of free labor.
Yeah.
Or discounted labor. Let's call it that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the next book I have coming out in May is called The Faith Machine. That one is psychic espionage. So the elevator pitch for that is like, what if the X-Men were in the X-Files?
If the X-Men were in the X-Files, they'd be snatched up by the government and used for research, right?
Yep, that is a possibility in this setting.
Okay. Very interesting. Now, I also understand that you had a personal, I guess, dealing or worked with ChiZine Publications. Is that right?
Yeah. Since it's germane, and you did the call out for refugees from the publisher, I figured I'd step up and tell my side of the story at least. I'm in San Diego and they're in Toronto, so that gave me a lot of geographical distance. So of the people who are damaged, I'm way down on the bottom of the list. But I'm still in touch with a lot of the people there. I've been in touch with them online, so I've gotten some of the inside story that way.
So for those of us who aren't, up to date on, any of it, can you give a quick rundown of what's ChiZine and what did they do good and what happened and who did it happen to, and
All right. Well, ChiZine is Canada's premier science fiction, fantasy, horror publisher. That is a big fish, small pond situation. But they are they have a lot of loyalty because of that in the Canadian speculative fiction scene. They've been around at least 13 years, probably longer than that.
Oh man.
They did have a very good reputation. In fact, I found them initially on a list of small press to keep an eye on at the time.
Okay.
And they've maintained that reputation through the quality of what they publish. And as far as what happened, ultimately they were they were not published. They weren't paying authors, which is
Bad.
Really bad.
It's bad. It's bad, but it's also not uncommon in small press. I think that's what bought them so much time, right? So if I didn't get my royalty statements, it's a year late. Well, yeah, it's a small press, and I know it's a husband and wife team. It's very, very small operation. They didn't even have an office, right? They were running it out of their house. So why wouldn't it be late? But then it turns out in all the scandal, they were getting other sources of funds, and also they had no real reason to not be paying people because they weren't also not paying their employees. I mean, should we just start unpacking things as it unravels?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's get to that because
do you want this from my perspective? The first thing that came to notice for me was when Jeff Vandermeer just put out on his social media, "We do not endorse ChiZine as either a publisher or an employer." That was a full statement.
Wow.
And who was he?
Oh, Jeff Vandermeer. If you remember that movie that came out a couple years ago, Annihilation.
Yes.
Yeah. He wrote the book that became. He is, I would say, top tier science fiction author right now.
Okay, and he did not recognize him as a publication or employer.
Well,
at all.
He recognized them. He didn't recommend them.
Oh, I didn't recommend them. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
so that is your sort of politically
anti-endorsement.
Yeah. Now, why he said that was a guy named Ed Kurtz, who I still don't know, but he is an author with a couple. He's been at it a lot longer than I have. It all really started with him. So he had at least one book with ChiZine, and he had approached them at a convention and said, "Hey, I've got a lot of financial problems. My partners just got laid off. Our cat's sick. My own income is kind of slack. I really need that royalty statement that you owe me." He even had like some international sales, which is pretty good money, right? It's free money, just checks come in. Mm-hmm. And their response was, "Well, things are tough all over," and just walked away.
Yeah, that I remember. Yeah. I did a little video on that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then
hold on.
Back up.
I mean,
back up for those.
Hold on. So you're a fucking publishing company, and you just tell one of your, paying authors, somebody who's making money for your company, to pound sand because they want to be paid what they're owed.
Yep.
Oh, it gets worse. Because after that, apparently they were shit talking him at the. Oh, wait a minute. Are we cursing on this?
Yeah.
Hey, I started the show with motherfucker. I think we're okay.
Okay. I lost track of that one. Yeah, they were shit talking him at the convention, and it's a small scene, right? And people will get back to you.
Yeah.
On that, and he had heard about that, and between just overall the treatment that he had received, he just publicly stated on social media his situation with ChiZine, and he was basically announcing his retirement from writing. He's like, "I am so disheartened by this whole process. I am calling it quits."
I hope he's changed his mind.
After all this, I haven't checked up on him. I really should. I wouldn't be surprised if he's come around again because he's gotten a lot of support from this.
Right.
And look aside, what's weird about this is like so many of us have actually benefited in a weird way from this.
Because you got paid?
Just a complicated feeling. Well, like my own experience with them is they were like I said, they were late with. And I was like, "Oh, I know my book was not a huge success, right? I see the numbers on Amazon. I'm selling maybe a copy a month, So I'm not expecting, right?
Right.
You know, if they send me a $12 check this year or a $24 check the next year, not a big deal.
Right.
All of a sudden, out of the blue, I get a royalty statement in November. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Normally you get an announcement like that, and my wife, who's in publishing, was like, I bet somebody threatened to sue them, and she was right because I'm not quite sure on the timeline. I think this goes back. Ed Kurtz's whole situation goes back to that, or at least it was another group of their authors who were saying, "Hey, we're not getting our royalties," and they went to HWA, the Horror Writers Association. Mm-hmm. And I believe that's what happened in November of last year. Was HWA said, "Hey, we hear you're not paying out royalties," so they wrote a bunch of checks real fast.
Look at that.
Funny that the money that didn't exist suddenly existed.
It is funny.
So,
what happened
so
there?
the situation with Ed comes out to light. And then you know how this thing goes when you've got a lot of people that have an axe to grind against you, and one of them comes out and hits big, then suddenly everybody else feels it's time to come out with their stories.
Yeah,
and
I totally
some people have very, very good reasons not to, because, like I said, they are the #1 speculative fiction publisher in Canada, right? So,
okay,
there might be consequences, right? If you want to stay in that scene. So some of their employees had come out and were backing up Ed's story and said, yeah, not only were they not paying authors, they didn't have separate accounts for their finances. Like, there's a publisher supposed to have an account for, as soon as the money comes in from a book, they cut out the author's money and put that in an account, so it never gets touched. They didn't have one of those. Apparently, they were also just messing up their personal finances with it as well. So
yeah, that's called commingling, and it is hella illegal.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good.
At least in the U.S. Maybe Canada does shit different. You know, they still have beaver pelt accounting? I don't know.
I mean, did the stuff even go to a separate bank account, or was it going directly to their own personal bank account?
That's a good question. Like, did they even have a separate savings account? I mean, and that's the tricky part with getting everybody paid, right? Sure, if you have finances this convoluted, who's going to straighten it out to get everybody paid, and is it worth their time and to do it, right?
It sounds like a nightmare.
There's a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money spread across a lot of people.
Wow.
Well, that's what you have accountants and bookkeepers for.
Yeah, see. I'm so small level, I don't even have to worry. I'm not even worried about that right now. I'm like, there's no money coming in, so I don't have to, there's very little. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And I was starting to have questions about them because, like I said, they weren't paying their royalties very well. But what am I going to do? Like, hire an international lawyer to get my $150, whatever it is? I would lose money on the whole process. So that's almost all the financial stuff. I'll touch a little bit on one other thing. Well, actually, I might as well talk about it now. They get all the financial stuff away. One of the guys, I can't remember his name, but he in his account, he would work some of the same conventions as they did, and he was watching them make hand sales and not keep track of it.
Oh.
And that's actually a big grievance a lot of us have. Like, in my case, and I'm going to have to say, I searched through all my email. I couldn't find it written down, but I believe my initial print one was 1,000 books. In my last royalty statement last year, the paperback sold 430.
Okay.
And about this time last year, they switched to a print-on-demand model. So they wanted to clear out their warehouse. So we were able to buy all our stock back from them. And I got 160 books there. So that's 400.
So there's a little gap there.
Yeah, plus 160. Where did that extra 400 books go?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Just disappeared. The dog ate it. What can I tell you?
There was a flood in the warehouse.
Yeah.
Now I know a lot of those were promotional. Like, it was like 100, probably about 100 books were given away. That's fine, but still. And again, so I get about $1.50 a book. Am I really going to hire a lawyer for $450? It's not practical.
I mean,
It's
seriously, in
not
Canada,
even
when you're in the
practical to send an
States,
email.
I mean, yeah, it costs a lot of money.
Yeah, and that's like $7 million Canadian, though.
So I was a little bit ahead on the story because when my second book was so my second book, I had an agent for it, and all of a sudden, let me go back a little bit further.
Okay.
Sandra asked me for first look at my second book, and this is 6 months after Picking Up the Ghost was published. I said, absolutely, here you go. Send her the copy, the Word document, and give them a couple of months, and I was like, hey, have you gotten a chance to read it? Promise we'll get to you in 2 weeks. Promise we'll get to you in 2 weeks, just over and over again for 6 months. Promise we'll get to you in 2 weeks. This time we mean it. And eventually I'm like, okay, well, I'm not sure what's going on there, but I need to start moving on because, the Kim Jong-un is a character in this book, and it was looking like he wasn't going to be around very long. So,
Okay.
You gotta strike. Well,
I gotta. There's a time limit on this book before it becomes completely irrelevant. And then, so after 6 months, I give up on them. 2.5 years later, I get an email from them, hey, congratulations, we want to publish your book. And I'm like, I'm not sure about
2.5 years.
Now. This is 3 years total.
Jesus.
3 years.
Yeah.
It took. Look, man, hold on. I felt bad. When I was sitting on some book deals, whatever, during the October Blitz. We were doing like an episode every single day, and didn't have time to do much of everything. That was me putting stuff off for a month, and I felt bad about that. I felt guilty. I was like, man, all these obligations I made, but I caught up to it. My conscience, man. I can't.
I can't believe you felt guilty over that, Jesse.
Hey.
You got so many bigger things to feel guilty about.
Oh, like what? Not paying my co-host?
Hey, planes don't pay for themselves.
Well, stop flying. Stop flying. You could do the show from your house. I don't know why you're flying. What do you think this is? Right?
Well, got to keep ahead of the Fed somehow.
Oh, well, that's a whole other lifestyle right there. Oh, all right. I'm sorry, Tone. Sorry to sidetrack right there.
So I had a person on the inside. I was still friends with Beverly Bammerly, who did their publicity.
Okay.
And she's going to do publicity for me in exchange for web services. I updated her website. So I was like, you still live in Toronto, and I don't work for them anymore. What's going on there? And she had laid out some of the stuff that has come out in later on the story. So that was why I was like, okay, I'm definitely not going with this publisher again. Fortunately, I had another publisher who was also interested, and I really feel I'm glad knowing somebody and sending out email to save me a lot of trouble, probably. So all this financial stuff comes out, right?
Right.
Okay.
And that's like 2 days, 3 days, and then this other stuff starts coming out, the sexual harassment stuff and the treatment of the employees. Like the one that was really like the beginning. I can deal with financial problems. Like I'm used to getting ripped off by employers. It's just the American way.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I have an employer who owes me $25,000 I'm never going to see. So compared to that, this is a small change.
Yeah, right. And they'll look for any excuse to keep it too. Sorry.
Oh yeah. But when it was the other author, I wrote her name down, Livia Llewellyn, the erotic horror author, came out with her story about the review. I was like, oh God, because that was the one that they paid for a review, and the reviewer compared the book to the author's genitals, and I was just like, the response to that, I was like, oh my God, because this is a whole new. Oh, do you know? Okay, so.
Yeah, that was the one I heard about.
Words.
That's the one where it's like, wait, so it's horror erotica, and they paid for a review, and the reviewer. I mean, when you pay for a review, you're not obligated to get a good one or whatever. At least not supposed to. Mm-hmm. But the reviewer compared the story to her. And I was like, well, I was like, that is not tasteful. That's bad. But it's erotica?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, It sounds like a troll
No,
review.
no. Being erotica, that's no fucking excuse for that kind of shit. You
I
want?
agree.
I can bet you
I
with the
mean,
perp doing
what
that.
you want? If you're asking for a review from a professional reviewer,
Yeah.
you want a fucking professional review. You don't want some 14-year-old review type of thing. You know,
Right.
like it or don't like it, but at least be professional about it.
See,
And
professional reviewer.
because it was paid. It is. Yeah, exactly. It's a paid service, so they're both employees. I mean, this comes, opens up all kinds of territory. Then, I mean, as far as sexual harassment, workplace, etc., blah blah blah. But it's she does not want this guy referring to her, especially as like he had access to her genitals, like by how many. He doesn't know what she's been through. He
Right.
doesn't know like
Right.
what this is opening up. But also, it's like this that's not your business. It's a book.
Right.
And then the publisher's reaction to that was, well, this is kind of what you get when you write erotic fiction. I was like, I don't think so. I don't think that's
No.
part of the deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not it at all.
So then when that comes up, I was like, this is getting worse and worse. And then the various stories from Sam Biko and Beverly Bammerly about working for no money, working for very little money, being mistreated, and then getting into people I don't know talking about the sexual harassment that they put up with just on a regular basis from other authors who are hanging around. It was just like I had to pull it at that point because, like I said, it's just who am I dealing with? I can deal with being ripped off, but I can't deal with being working with a bully.
Yeah. And yet, doesn't it all kind of seem to fit together? All of these shenanigans, they
It
seem
does.
to be. It seems to be a pattern to all of it.
Yeah, I kind of wonder how it started. I mean, it's that process of corruption, right? I think they didn't know. Their whole attitude as a publisher was, this seems like a good idea. Let's do it. They didn't have much of a background in publishing, either of them. Going back to my book, it was written as a young adult book, and they had an in-house cover artist who did a cover for it, and then they took it to Barnes and Noble and said, "Hey, we want this in your young adult section." And Barnes and Noble said, "That's not a young adult cover." So because they couldn't afford to get the cover redone, the book stops being young adult.
Oh.
And now it's in the wrong section in the bookstores. It's in the wrong section in libraries, which I understand. I was their first attempt at a young adult book, but I didn't know what I was doing either, so I can't criticize that much. But this
Jesus,
is
if you want to know what a young adult cover looks like, go to the fucking bookstore and look.
Right?
It's not complicated.
Yep.
No, just go on Amazon to search.
Yeah.
YA. You can have some female on the cover. Definitely. And this was the ghost
my
book?
own experience. That was the only problem I had through the first couple of years, besides the late royalty statements, which again I didn't think was a problem. I got editorial. They did interior art for me. They commissioned. They even did book club discussion questions in the back. They didn't have to do. I got a deal with Audible. I was even optioned for a film at one point. I mean, overall, other than the fact that very few people read it, it was a pretty good experience for me. I feel like I certainly, if I was self-publishing, I wouldn't have gotten into bookstores. It was bookstores everywhere. So,
well, ChiZine did
so
that.
I got a lot of.
Okay, they got you in
I
bookstores.
got a lot of complicated feelings about the whole thing.
Well, they're definitely more legitimate than I am because they actually get your book in bookstores. But
that's not the scale, Jesse.
They don't pay their people though. I paid my people.
These people were clearly unethical from the get-go.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
I mean, as people, they were lacking in ethics, and that's how they were able to start down making these poor decisions. Because, and you start off with a little, well, God, look, there's all this royalty money sitting in the bank account, and I sure could use, a new bear trap or whatever the fuck.
Right? Well, it's a lot easier to think it's your money when it goes into your own account too.
Exactly. Exactly.
I might be a small operation over here still using PayPal, but at least it's not going to my personal account. It's going to an account that I don't even use unless I need to buy like a game on stream or something, or Steam. But I make sure it's my portion of it, or I put the money back into like ads or something, or do like a contest with it. Hell, when the royalties come in,
but you got a person who has, some real solid ethics. It doesn't even occur to them to spend somebody else's money, even if it's sitting in your account. You look at that and you go, "That's not mine. That belongs to these other people. That is not mine to spend."
And if they had the right processes in place, maybe that would have happened. I don't know. I mean,
embezzlement happens even with all the processes.
Well, I mean, this is an interesting question. This is what the main question I have about the whole thing is like, how does the corruption start? Like, what was it? Was it like they had their own financial emergency and they were like, oh, let's take a little bit out of the till, and then we got away with that.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Money. It's money. Yeah,
it usually does start small.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But you have to have that lack of ethics to take the first step.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're missing the ethics and you take that first step, that's the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
Stealing $10 from the till, that's the first time. That's the hard part. Stealing the next $20 and then $100 and then $1,000 and then $10,000, that's all easy after you take the first step.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be able to mentally and emotionally go, yeah, it's all right to do that.
But I don't
first
think
step.
I don't think the whole thing was a scam from the beginning, right? If you're going to run a scam, you're not going to get into publishing, especially small press, right?
True.
So they started with a good place, and things went wrong. I like to think that that's what happened. They made they got a little desperate. They made some bad decisions. They got away with it, and then they started to get cocky, and then they're like, Part of it also was thinking, so some of the accounts of some of the employees there was so much emphasis on getting lots of books out. They were overworking. The employees felt that they were being overworked.
They actually had employees.
And I don't...
For real?
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, so by employees, I mean people straight out of college who were impressed by their reputation and wanted to work in publishing. So they got these internships. Usually started out free, eventually started getting paid a little bit. There was so much emphasis on pushing out books. You know how publishing works, where you've got to have, at least the big ones, like you got to have a couple stellar hits, and those stellar hits sort of finance the rest of the print line.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's what they were going for. They never had that hit. So they just kept throwing books out there and hoping that one of them becomes a super success. And then when that money came in, they were just going to redo all the books from that point on, and then they would be good. And never happened.
Just never happened.
That's my own theory about what happened there financially.
So you think they put the money that were supposed to go into the royalties back into the company to get other books out?
I think. I mean, if you want to call this the criminal aspect of the company, the criminal conduct was to keep the company going.
I can kind of see that because it's not cheap to get a book out there if you're paying at least for the cover and for it being edited and all that. And if you're not paying your people, the authors, then it gets a little cheaper, right? But I still do things out of pocket.
Oh, did I mention the grant money yet?
No.
Grant money.
This whole scheme sounds like somebody who steals money from the company to buy lottery tickets, but it's okay because they'll pay it back. I'm way over in San Diego. I'm not involved with their personal life. I do know that they moved from Toronto to a cheaper neighborhood, so that to me is not a sign that
that's a sign the lottery ticket's not working. That's a sign. Daddy keeps raiding the piggy bank. He keeps on going to. Yeah,
But they were getting grant money from the Canadian government,
Really?
which is probably the biggest deal here, and that's probably what's really going to be a big problem for them in the future. So yeah, I know,
What's the
and I
grants for? Do you know?
for art institution grants, because they were, again, like I said, they were the big publisher of genre in Canada. So Canada culturally feels so dominated by America that to have their own publishers is very important for them.
wow. Even they were giving grant money, and they still fucked up not paying people.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not talking about a loan. We're talking about a grant, and they still couldn't pay their people. Man.
So this all happened before weed was legal?
Looking back at the story, the timeline, this stuff started going on when I was there, signed up. Particularly as Beverly's accounting, and that's her story to tell. But she was already dealing with sort of the emotional abuse way back then, and I didn't pick up on that. I did notice that when ChiZine people were hanging around, she wasn't there.
You said Beverly. Is she the one that?
Yes.
Is she the one that claimed that her husband, that they were trying to get her husband away from her or something? Is that the person? Oh, okay.
And this is like another reason why people don't come forward. Like in Beverly's case, like how could she come forward with that story and not look like a total crazy person? If it's whether it's not, somebody help me. This publisher's trying to break up my marriage.
Yeah, it does sound kind of crazy. Like, okay, a publisher's trying to break up your marriage. How does this happen? Now I know it's her story to tell, but what is the story? I'm curious.
I would say, long story short, the husband and wife team didn't like her, and they did like her husband, and they wanted to hang out with him without her. So, according to Bev, the plan was to break up the wedding and hook him up with another one of their female friends, so and that's where it gets like telenovela, right?
Holy God.
Yeah. And I have no reason to not believe that story, as crazy as it sounds, just because why would
No, it's too crazy to be made up.
Yeah. In light of everything else. And again, like there are other people I don't know who work for them. We're talking about some of the crazy sexual harassment stuff. This author who I don't want to get into too much about you can look at the link I sent you, the account, everything, but like an email that one of the authors made a sexual comment about one of the people working there, and Brett forwarded it to that intern because they thought it was funny. It was just basically says he wants to fuck her. That's not funny. That's not a joke. There's no punchline to that.
Right.
Yeah. You were just sharing messages like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not good,
so,
man.
There you go.
Well, what kind of idiot puts that in an email?
Yeah.
It can't be forwarded if you don't fucking write it down.
Well, what married man in his 50s has sexual intentions on a young lady in her 20s that you're working with? I think that's a bigger question. And who that author is still anonymous, but
yeah.
I mean,
well, I can.
Here's what I'm really like.
Yeah.
I'm really worried about. Is like this is just one of the publishing houses that got exposed, and there's a lot more of this stuff going on. Both financially and sexually. The Big Five maybe having this problems, and because again, ChiZine's reputation is what kept people from talking out about them.
Who do you mean by Big Five?
Oh, the Big Five publishers. I'm not implying that this is happening to them, but I mean, if it was happening, how would we know, right? I don't want. I mean,
you mean like Random House, Big Five, that kind of shit?
Yeah.
Okay.
You think they're doing like casting couch stuff, or like deals?
Yeah, I mean,
I can imagine it. I can totally imagine that.
people want to work in these industries, especially entertainment.
Why?
Well, they come. I mean, that's kind of thing. Like all these interns were straight out of college, right? I mean, interns usually are straight out of college, but
Oh yeah, because
on the one hand, yeah, you're helping their career. On the other hand, they don't know better. So it's. I mean, the thought that this is going on all over the place kind of bugs me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
well,
so-
yeah, it's and we know that it's been, newsrooms, for example, it's been bad shit all over there. Hollywood's just a,
Oh yeah.
cesspool. So why not publishing?
Mhm. Yeah. Whenever
What
there's any
makes
sort
them
of
so special?
whenever there's any sort of like a power dynamic, when you have like a manager over someone, or they're gonna, especially if they are with the gatekeeper, they're holding what you want. You want something, you desire it, whether it be a position or what have you. Yeah, I mean, sexual favors, that's probably going to come up. I mean, I wouldn't I wouldn't doubt it. It's nothing new. It's been around since the very beginning.
It's
Yeah.
the Greeks, probably.
Yeah.
But
Sure, we'll
it's
carve
kind of
that onto a stone tablet, but you got to put out first.
Oh, even caveman days. You want this big buffalo or whatever the hell I killed or whatever, saber-toothed tiger or whatever. I don't know. I mean, but it shouldn't happen. It's like,
No,
I mean, we're not primitive cavemen anymore. And this stuff is, see, like all I knew about was really the payment problem. The other stuff was the video I did was very not even surface level. Which I'm reading the link you sent me here.
it's astonishing that in this day and age, that people don't get why that's a problem. That kind of behavior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, creeps.
How do you not get this? How do you not think? How do you think that civilized behavior doesn't apply to you?
Mm-hmm.
I think a problem with a lot of guys is they project their own sexual desires onto women. They sort of assume that women want sex in the same way that they do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, it's a completely different thing for them. No, maybe not completely different. Not completely, and it's not necessarily every woman, but you know what? It's not something you should go in assuming.
I mean, women want sex as well, but it's different. I mean, it's
yeah.
Okay.
It was a great. I think it was a Chris Rock joke. It's like being a woman is like going through the mall, where those kiosks are, and those people are paid on commission, and they're all trying to sell you something.
Right.
But imagine each of those kiosks is trying to sell you dick.
No, I don't want your dick. No,
that's what being a woman is like every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I hear quite a bit from them, and Facebook is just a open sewer for that shit.
Yeah.
And it pisses me off too, because they used to have a security feature where you could select that nobody who wasn't already a friend couldn't message you, and they took it away.
Mm-hmm.
And I know one woman who had a huge problem, and she did a lot of digging and a lot of research and uncovered some really super scandalous shit about Facebook and how they did that and other things to appease their contract workers in the third world.
Really?
Yeah. And I mean, if you look at it, you could make a case that Facebook has been complicit in the sexual harassment of 1 billion women.
Oh yeah. My thought was big picture is like Facebook's business model is building, rather monitoring connections between people. So that's why they don't like things that block connections, because every stream of information there is another potential source of revenue.
Yeah.
Because what their real money is data mining, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And selling that data. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, how much deeper does this toxic environment go?
Again, I'm so barely on the edge of publishing. I couldn't tell you.
What about ChiZine? Is there
ChiZine?
other ghosts and skeletons that need to come out?
From what I've heard, there are people with more to say, but I think we probably are done hearing stories, right? I mean, if like we were talking about before, like when a lot of people have an axe to grind and one person comes out, then a lot of people fall up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there'll be some people who they do have an axe to grind, but they don't want the details of it coming out. And there's really I mean, look at the situation this publisher is in right now. Brett and Sandra have stepped down as co-owners. They've lost a good chunk of their IP. They've lost their reputation. What do they have left? So what would be the point then? How much more damage could you do to them by coming out with your story? And unfortunately, we live in this culture, right, where the assaultee rather, gets damaged, redamaged through the process of bringing this sort of thing up.
Right.
So why would they go through that?
But at the same time,
Yeah.
I mean, you can gain something from coming out as well. I mean, it's
yeah. I mean,
I
mean, those are. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I guess I could imagine maybe other publishers be like, well, okay, well, I'm not gonna work with these people. They just come out and start saying stuff. But at the same time, it's like,
that's
as another publisher, though very small scale, I don't even know why I even compare myself to these people. Look, if you just pay your people, you're fine. Pay your people and just like don't
grope
fuck around, right? Well, it's a lot easier. We don't have.
How hard
an
is
office,
it to not grope people? Jesus.
Right? I mean, this is a one-man operation over here, essentially, kind of, sort of, So it's very easy for me.
I do want to say again that
I grope myself.
I do want to make it clear that Brett and Sandra have not been accused in any kind of sexual harassment directly. It is usually their authors, some of their authors, not all of us, but some of the authors who had a creepy gene in them.
Well, they are writers, for fuck's sake. So we expect. They're freaks to begin with,
and they are horror authors.
But in the pyramid of weird ass artist types, writers are kind of the best, and then you have painters, and then the worst are like musicians.
I knew you were gonna go to musicians.
and then the tip of that is drummers.
Yeah. What about the bass player, man? You don't mess with it. No one messes with the bass player.
As this whole thing unraveled, I kind of feel like I was standing on the corner and I watched a car accident where I knew everybody in both vehicles.
Yeah. Wow.
And it feels weird, but I got to say, like, again, I'm at the bottom of the list of the victims, but because of the fallout for this, I've gotten more publicity for Picking Up the Ghost than I did probably on its initial release. It's this complicated feeling.
Oh, that's weird in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's the book that was initially published as YA, is it right?
Well, I mean, it was originally written as YA. It was never published as YA.
Oh, okay, written as but not published.
So, are you going to get your rights back?
Yeah, I've asked for my rights back. But then that's kind of I mean, I had to, right? I mean, I couldn't be as a story. No matter, even if the story turns out to be a bunch of smoke and mirrors and it was all false accusations, I couldn't be associated with them right now.
Right.
But also, like, it's kind of like saying, I will take my 12 sales a year and go someplace else. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Now, did they honor
and
that?
then-
that scene in Bohemian Rhapsody. You'll go down in history as the publishers who lost tone.
So I emailed them. I said I'd like my rights back. They said yes. It was way past the point where I could have, so there was no problems there. I have yet to receive any official paperwork that involves. Apparently, it looks like they have lawyered up. For example, they've closed down their social media. They replaced themselves as the head publisher, and they said they're going to try and get everyone paid and everyone's rights back. Something that was implied by one of the lawyer types who was talking about it was like they have to give everyone's rights back immediately, because that would get them in more legal hot water than the finances. Because like I said, the finances have to be figured out. The rights are easy, right? Either you have them or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got the rights back. I've got still like 100 copies physical, but here's the complicated thing for me. Like, I can't find another publisher for this. Like, nobody's going to touch it. It's already been out there once. And this is not even like any controversy stuff. Just the mechanics of it. It didn't sell its initial print run of 1,000 books. So, who's going to pick that up right now? Nobody. Unless my next book is a big success, and then someone comes sniffing around for this.
Publish it yourself.
Now, there's all kinds of questions there. Like, I have to commission a new cover. I have to. It's a young adult book, right? Mm-hmm. So is there a market for ebook young adult? I don't think there is.
Yes,
there is.
Yeah,
you think so?
Absolutely is.
Okay. I haven't looked into it, but it was my thought was you kind of have to have the physical book because people like giving the physical book to kids as a gift.
Yeah, a lot of kids have their own fucking Kindles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's something I can consider. Right now, my thought is okay. So one of the other authors, I don't want to name them because this plan might not happen, but trying to put together those of us who got our rights back and try and put an ebook bundle together. So that would be one step. If that happens, I would like to do that.
The ChiZine refugee bundle. Well, you can't call it that.
No, you can't call it that.
Why?
That's our brand. We're gonna sue you for using our brand.
Oh.
Someone in Canada is gonna sue someone in the States for using their brand. Okay, good luck on that. You know.
So put an S on the front of it.
ChiZine. I don't know. Don't listen to me for legal advice.
Somebody else suggested to me that I might put it on BookBub and just give it away, and it would be a lost leader. Like I said, I've got another book coming out. Just be a lost leader and maybe get some attention for that book. I've got a short story that kind of bridges the two, so I can just put that at the back of this book, and then hopefully, and then have a link to the action link at the end of the book so people can go right into the next book. I think that might be my play right.
We talk with a lot of different authors on this show, and some of them of which have been self-published with success, with varying success. A couple of which, actually, I'm talking a couple, a married couple, and they self-publish all the time, once a month. They at least get something out there, and they're making a living.
Oh,
they're living over there, in Seattle, so it's not cheap.
Yeah,
and they're paying
just up the road from me here. Yeah, and
I asked the questions now. I'm not saying they fibbed on anything. They're paying paying their bills, making. They're living off it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's possible. Now
is that a novella that they're publishing every month or a full novel?
Well, it's different things, but something goes out every month. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they are writing all the time. They have no time for anything else. They wake up, they're right. Immediately.
Well, I mean, yeah, it sounds like that, but honestly, it's not like they're, slave labor, dusk to dawn kind of thing. They do other things with their life. Maybe not. So. Maybe that's all they do. They eat, they sleep, they write. But they put out a lot of shit every damn month, and they're not hitting home runs, but they're getting a lot of singles, and
Right.
they're running up the score.
So how has this situation affected your writing? Like, are you still writing the same amount, or has it diminished a little bit, or?
I was very depressed for a while after this book came out. We all have delusions that it's going to be a big hit, right? But the fact that it never got into a second printing was very disappointing. I feel like I just let the book down in a way, right? I was not able to find an audience for it.
Why was that your fault?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I have control over. So that's what I'm going to blame.
You should be asking the publisher. Like, well, first off, they messed up by using the wrong cover. It was supposed to be YA, and that cover definitely is not YA. Like that. I don't honestly. No offense. That cover, I don't even know what it's supposed to be. I think it's a ghost kid, and I think I would put that like maybe in the horror section, or maybe kid. I probably not even kid. I don't even know where I put that. Where would you put that, SK? Where would you put that book?
That cover is kind of a mess. I gotta say.
ChiZine paid for that.
I don't know. I don't know if is that snakes or worms or.
I think that's graffiti.
See, that's not clear.
We're not ragging on your book. Yeah. We're not. I know it sounds like we are, but
he didn't do the cover.
Yeah, he didn't. ChiZine did. ChiZine paid for it with money they owed other people. They got a grant. I'm still not over that. I'm not over that. How do you get free fucking money? Where's my free fucking money? I want free money.
Yeah, you got to be in a culture that values the arts.
Damn it. Oh man. Yeah. Maybe I could. Maybe you know what? Trump is a total tool. Maybe I could sucker up to him. Kanye did. All right. Anyway.
Trump doesn't hand out grants though.
Oh, fucking. Okay, so anything lined up in the chamber? Any of the stories coming out?
So the Faith Machine's coming out in May. That's the one I'm pushing now. And I'm working on the sequel to that. Now this is another small publisher, Running Wild Press, but they're in LA, which is very good because that means if there's a problem, they're in choking distance.
That's good.
I'm going to keep making that joke until the publisher hears it, and then I'll probably have to stop. And now, rather than doing a print run, we're going straight to print on demand, which has its pluses and minuses. But one of the pluses is I can go ahead and start working on the sequel because there's certainly a success with a print on demand, but there's no failure, right? There's not a warehouse full of hundreds of copies anywhere putting pressure on the fact that the first book was not a success. So that's the thing there. I've written a role-playing game based on the book because one of my beta readers said he thought it was a very gameable setting. So that product is coming out, and I'm hoping to leverage the two back and forth as a marketing thing. So when the game is out, we put an ad for the game in the back of the book, and vice versa.
And this is for the book, The Faith Machine?
The Faith Machine.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, how easy of a role-playing game is it? Like, if I've never played... I played some Dungeons & Dragons, but I mean, if I've never played it, could I just pick it up?
Well, I'm using an existing rule set for it. It's called Fate Core. And I'd say Fate Core is both very easy and a little abstract. Once you get your head around it, it's easy. Because rather than a bunch of numbers, a character sheet is mostly built on clauses describing what the character is. So like if you're writing up Superman, then the high concept is something like last son of Krypton. As opposed to just like if you're writing up Superman in D&D, he's 100 strength and 100 constitution and 100 dexterity or something like that. So in a way, and some of the other things about Fate Core is like the character can't die unless both the GM and the player agree on it. So you lose that adversarial relationship with the GM and the player.
Oh, okay.
So rather than a lot of games which try and simulate reality, I really feel like Fate Core is trying to simulate fiction. Because, like I said, the characters based on clauses, they're basically built on tropes.
Okay. So I can have the most stereotypical character. I mean, what if I had like, I don't think I've ever played a role playing game like that. Where
yeah, I have. I don't think there's not too. This is kind of a new thing. I would say Fate and the Powered by the Apocalypse system are kind of this new wave.
Okay.
I call it new. They're about 10 years old now, but compared to us, maybe they're new.
Okay.
But they kind of call themselves story games.
Okay. Interesting.
I haven't heard of that.
I my experience is pretty much D&D a very little bit, and then something called it's called Exile. I played a few at a friend's house, so all I know are like adversary relationships with a DM. It's like, what, my character's gonna fucking die now? What? Why is my character dying? Because I went through the wrong door. So what if I haven't left the bar? What if I'm still trying to hit on the barmaid? What the fuck, man? Come on. You guys are just gonna risk your life for something stupid. Whatever.
So the game was actually really easy to write up because, like I said, I'm using an existing rule system. So then all it took was for me to take all my notes and put them into a context of a game manual.
Okay.
So my agent asked me because to sell a book, you need to have the key phrase is a standalone novel with serious potential. So I had outlines for 2 more books, plus a variety of notes of things I couldn't use, and other notes on other stories I might do. So I was basically just consolidated all that and put it together into a document. And the process of doing it, if you do a lot of world building, I recommend doing something like this, even like if you model it after a series Bible like they do for TV shows. Because when you've got all that information together, you start to see holes or you see redundancies, and it really helps you straighten everything out and clean it up.
Well,
where can you find an example of a series Bible?
Oh, I'm sure there's plenty of those out there. Yeah. Pick your favorite TV show, and as long as it's been off the air for long enough, I'm pretty sure they put it out there somewhere.
Series Bible. When I was a kid, I had a Star Wars thing. It was a collection of all these characters and all their details about that. But I don't know if that would be a series Bible. That's just like
yeah. And TV, TV is very important to stay consistent. So they put all that information. They call it a Bible because you're not supposed to stray from it.
Well, then they work on that in Star Wars with Disney because they fucked that one up. I don't know what happened with Last Jedi. Anyway, and in the chat, Michaela, yeah, I'm in Texas. Mr. Deadman's in Texas. Deadman's home is in Texas. It's a one-man operation, pretty much. On the podcast, I get the help with SK and Tammy. And then on the publishing side, maybe someone else might help with the editing, whatever. But that's pretty much it. Just me. All right, so let's dig in some more about it with your work. And then we can move into the airing of the grievances. I
thought that's what this whole show was.
I know, right? Okay. So pick up the ghosts. Is this based on a true experience? Like, have you had any experience with ghosts?
No, I'm actually I'm a very skeptical person. I used to be much more into that sort of thing. I used to believe in ghosts. All the anything woo-woo, from UFOs to pyramids or anything like that. But I think my education in mathematics made me much more skeptical. I need to see cause and effect now.
Science will do that shit to you.
Yeah. But what's funny is like I can't write science fiction. I am so worried about putting a couple years into a book with some sort of core science fiction conceit, and then the month the book gets published, an article in Nature comes out just contradicting that core conceit, and then it all goes away.
Oh. Well, you could just do what Star Wars did and just have like lightsabers that don't make any sense. You can just do stuff that just don't make sense.
Is that really science fiction, or is that space fantasy, or they call it space opera?
I mean, I don't know. You can get into debates about that.
There's not a lot of science to that fiction.
Yeah,
shit.
There really isn't.
Yeah. I mean, you think about it. Like, I'm realizing now, like every science fiction book is destined to become space opera, because eventually, the hardest science fiction novel from 50 years ago now looks ludicrous, right? Nobody judges everything correctly. The opening line from Neuromancer is the character smuggling 3 meg of hot RAM.
Oh my God, a whopping 3 meg.
No. That's what he's doing. The opening line was start over again. The sky was the color of a TV set turned to a dead channel. Well, by the time we got to the year the story was set, and that doesn't mean anything anymore.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah. But on the other hand, William Gibson probably predicted most of the future pretty accurately. I think we're living in a cyberpunk present.
Yeah, I can see that. We got sex dolls.
As far as the hacking goes, not so much the cyborg stuff, but
well, I want the Back to the Future. I want the floating cars. I want the hoverboards. What happened to that?
A fun future,
man.
Yeah.
Jesus. Come on, Jesse. People can't even handle 4-way stop signs. You want them really flying?
Just to see the chaos. Yeah. And you know what?
Carnage. Oh, the humanity.
Good luck on waiting for Elon Musk to figure that shit out. He can't even figure out how to do windshields right now. God damn it. The fucking Cybertruck.
Was that hilarious or what? Holy shit.
That was bad.
Oh, God, that was so funny.
It was like,
I mean, come on, Elon.
Mm-hmm.
Put the weed down for a minute.
oh.
God, all those ideas you thought sounded really great when you were, kicking it back with a
Joe
doobie.
Rogan.
When you go onto the stage to demo those.
And then when your own guy's like, I don't think we should do this. Maybe you shouldn't do it.
It'll be great.
And then you do it again. I really don't think we should do this. Anyway, I'm sorry. See, we segue like that sometimes,
Oh, yeah.
So no personal experience with ghosts. But what about voodoo?
No.
No voodoo?
Well, okay, so my big thought on supernatural in general is I think the placebo effect is very powerful. And we still don't understand that. So that's about as close to magic as you can get, right? So a lot of people have physiological reactions based on what they believe.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely true.
Yeah.
It's well documented.
I read a guy's actual account of being in Haiti, and there's all this creepy stuff happening there, and other accounts of voodoo of if you convince somebody that they'd be turned into a zombie, they'll start acting like one.
There was a psychologist who, back in I think it was the 70s, wanted to release a line of placebos as, and say, this placebo's for, your heart, and this one's for, this is for your stomach, and this one's for your eyesight. And it'd all be placebos, and it'd be labeled as placebos. And he said, it doesn't matter if you tell them it's a placebo. It's still going to work for a certain percentage of people.
It's like CBD oil.
And that's not a joke about people not knowing what placebo means. Like, literally, if somebody understands what a placebo is and you tell them it's a placebo and you give it to them, sometimes it still works for them.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And the FDA wouldn't let them do it.
Yeah, so who knows what's going on there?
Well,
it's really, really complicated.
Well, it sounds like
Pretty
CBD
weird
oil now, right?
cool.
With the CBD, it's like, or CBD oil is like, oh man, this cures everything. And people pitch that like, oh man, this can take care of your anxiety, this can take care of your pain, your heart condition, your back problems, everything. And then the FDA went after them about that, or is going after them about that. I don't know if all those claims were verified, man. Shit. Okay. Now, did you do any research? What sort of research did you do with the book?
Let's see. I did read a lot about voodoo.
Okay.
I read, and then the setting. I call the city Jude, but it's based on East St. Louis.
All right.
So I read a lot about the history of that, and that's something the internet was great for. I found all these urban decay websites of people exploring East St. Louis and all these great set pieces, which ended up in the book. The the abandoned meat packing plant, and the various alleys and stuff were all just pictures that I saw online of people crawling around the city. East St. Louis has got a complicated history. It's essentially what happens. A company runs a town and then doesn't need it anymore. Originally, I was going to, because it's a ghost story, I want to set it in a ghost town or a town that's going to become a ghost town.
Mm-hmm.
So originally, I was thinking Detroit, but somebody mentioned East St. Louis to me. He's like, no, you really need to look at that, because it was owned lock, stock, and barrel by the company, and when they abandoned it, the only people left are the people who couldn't afford to leave.
Yeah,
like a mining town.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then that sort of that dictated other things. So East St. Louis is 98% African American.
Mm-hmm.
So then the entire cast of the book then becomes African American. I wasn't setting out to I don't want to be the white guy who's trying to make a statement about black people, right? I'm not doing that in any context here, but also if I'm picking a setting like that, it'd be weird if there was white people in this book. So
right, it has to be authentic.
Yeah.
Anybody giving you any shit over that?
Not
white
that I
guy
know of.
writing about black people?
You need readers to get a reaction. So the closest.
Oh, very clever of you.
Oh, come on.
That's right. My entire plan to avoid taking shit is to be very unpopular. The closest thing I got to getting a reaction, I was on a panel at a convention here in San Diego. It doesn't matter the name of the convention. And then somebody in the audience, the panel was about writing other cultures.
Okay.
And some of the audience implied, it was an African American woman, implied she came there to check me out. So at least one person was aware that I did this, but.
Okay. And we talked about this earlier.
So what, did she want to date?
No, yeah. like she wanted to judge where I was coming from.
Oh,
you said check you out.
That's just, why not check out your book? Because that's the real measure.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm of the generation that grew up on Rod Serling and Gene Roddenberry, right? Yeah. Where we needed white guys to say things like racism is bad.
Mm-hmm.
I think with the Own Voices movement, that burden belongs to somebody else. So as a Mr. Liberal guy, I think the line now for me is to simply depict people of color in roles where they wouldn't normally have been. And that's it. I'm not standing on a soapbox. I'm not making any statement. I'm just simply the cast happens to be black, and that's it.
Okay.
To me, that's the best approach. Is they're just people in your story, and these people are black, and okay, let's get on with the story.
Right. Yeah. I like that.
And don't make I think the less of a big deal you make of it, then it doesn't become a big deal.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Yeah. Okay, now what about the Faith Machine? What sort of research did you do with that book?
Oh boy, so that one actually started with the John Ronson book, The Ministeric Goats. They made a movie out of it. Well, they adapted a movie out of it, and that was about psychic warfare programs of the Cold War.
Ooh,
like MK Ultra,
Majestic, MK Ultra, yeah.
The big ones would be Project Stargate, MK Ultra, and the First Earth Battalion. And that book.
Okay, I know MK Ultra. What is
mm-hmm.
the first and the last one you mentioned? What is Stargate? What?
Okay, so Project Stargate their focus was mostly on remote viewing.
Okay.
Clairvoyance. MK Ultra was mostly about mind control. I'm being very reductionist with this, but MK Ultra was mostly about using drugs for mind control purposes. And then the First Earth Battalion came out of the Army. How to summarize this? they called themselves Jedi warriors because
Wait, no, whoa. Back
it
up,
was all about.
back up.
Okay.
They called themselves
When did they
Jedi
call
warriors before.
themselves Jedi warriors?
In the about the time Star Wars came out. This is coming out of Vietnam. So I forget the name of the guy, but it was an army colonel who noticed some things about the behavior of soldiers in Vietnam, particularly like how soldiers were not shooting at the opponent; they were shooting at the trees above the opponent, and then trying to figure out why that is. And he did this whole process of self-discovery and sort of came back with this whole philosophy of warrior monk. It wasn't so much like that's a problem that needs to be fixed. It's more like how do we use our own humanity in war. So it's really hard to boil down, but you can actually get the training manual for the 1st Earth Battalion. It's publicly available. I got mine off Amazon. It looks like an old army training manual, except the diagrams are very new agey. Lots of pyramids and eyes and stuff like that. But it was this whole philosophy of mind warrior stuff. So a little bit of Tai Chi thrown in there, mind over matter. The title comes from the Men Who Stare at Goats. One of the tasks was to try and kill a goat with your mind. So you're in another room, the goats of the other side, and you're just trying to cause it to have cardiac arrest.
Did it ever work?
Well, the goats, it's hard to say because the goats in question had been used for medic training. So shoot the goat.
Defibrillation and that kind of a bunch of that.
Yeah, you shoot the goat and then you bandage the wound. So these goats had been through a lot. So
they could have just got new goats.
Was it killed with the mind, or did somebody kill the goat with his mind, or was it just the goat's time to go?
Yeah. Get some healthy goats in there and see if you can do that shit.
Use a new goat each and every time. Come on. The military has.
I'm gonna go with the goat probably died of boredom.
Yeah. It killed itself.
Something finished every 6 months. That's not boredom.
I mean, I would die of boredom being stuck in a room for very long.
Oh my god, guys! You're trying to kill me with your fucking mind? It just runs into the wall. It just gives itself like bashing its skull into the wall right there. Okay.
So, like I said before, I'm skeptical about all the woo-woo stuff. But after reading the book, I was like, what if these programs were still happening? What if psychic phenomena were real? And I'm a guy who grew up on superhero comics, so a lot of those tropes work their way in there too. That's why I get the elevator pitch mentioning the X-Men. So I started sort of fleshing out the idea, and it kind of ties into the idea of what was going on politically at the time. I noticed that when a new power comes on the scene, generally two things happen: it gets squashed or it gets co-opted. Right? The Occupy Wall Street movement got squashed, and the Tea Party got co-opted. So if you had a world with superheroes in it, that's what would happen to them, I feel. And then these psychics, I've narrowed it down to just psychic phenomena. That's the world that they live in. They either work in the system or they get squashed.
Totally. I mean, like they would totally be used as assets, one way or the other. If they couldn't control you and use you, they like someone like Magneto or
that was the intention from the start, Jesse.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Like Superman in the comic The Dark Knight, right? He was totally co-opted, and Batman was squashed.
Yeah. And then, see, I'm thinking like the X-Files, the X-Files.
Trying to think of
the X-Men. The problem with the X-Men I have is that it's not realistic. Wow, the comic book, but the huge problem it has is Xavier would have been taken in by the government. Like the U.S. would have used Xavier for something.
Probably.
They would have just, that school you have here, we have monitors over the place. We're just gonna go in there. All you guys are, screened and we're tracking everything you do. We're gonna use you for experiments, all this stuff. Like, they used the Wolverine for experimentation for like a new weapon, and that was like a military project. Yeah. No. It wouldn't just be the Wolverine. It'd be the Wolverine. It'd be Xavier. It'd be all of them. All of them.
And that's something they trust. They addressed in the Ultimates line. If you ever, are you a big comic book guy?
Not really. I mean, I'm familiar
Well,
with it.
so-
I'm with the X-Men. I kind of watched the old cartoon. I think
Gotcha.
in the 90s. So
They did in the 90s, late 90s and early 2000s. They had the Ultimates line where they rebooted, not rebooted, but just sort of a side boot where they had all these comics more, given that more, given the Watchmen treatment, trying to make them a little bit more realistic. And yeah, the Avengers were just, and that's the idea they used in the movies. They were working for Shield. They were government agents, and then the X-Men had a whole thing where they were constantly dancing around the government.
yeah.
Well, yeah, because I mean, when you consider the fact that the government wants to have a monopoly on violence,
Yeah.
then they absolutely are going to either co-opt or destroy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what government does.
Yep.
We are going to use your violence, or you are going to stop being who you are, or stop being.
One way or the other. Yeah. That's pretty
Yeah.
much it. Yeah. So, and this book is coming out when?
May of 2020.
May of 2020. Okay. You got a new publisher lined up for it. And how's the experience working with running Wild Press?
Very good. It started. I had a short story published in one of their anthologies, and Lisa Kessler, drawing a blank on how to pronounce the name right now. Sorry, Lisa. She the promotion for this anthology was amazing. Like, she arranged a conference call for us and laid out exactly what they're going to do, and then they said, "Here's what we would like you to do. We're going to share these assets, these documents, for ideas of how to promote it, how to get your name out there in the anthology, what benefit there are for you." It was like a regular corporate business meeting. It was very refreshing to have that all done. Yeah,
That's pretty good. I mean,
Well, that's got to be quite a change of pace.
yeah. And I've been working with them. Like I said, I hosted their podcast, which is a good experience for me. It was fun to get all that technology together. I have no complaints working with Running Wild so far.
great. Look at that. So
Awesome.
that's good news. It's good because, like you said earlier, with the ChiZine thing, it's like, what other publishers? I feel like people will be questioning me. Like, man, all my stuff, I pay my people, everything's good, But it's like people looking, like, what are publishers doing shit? It's like, oh man.
Yeah. There, just as
Just
I
look
know
around.
you're, like you said, you're a very small publisher, but
Yeah.
I would like to see going forward is, as writers, we rely on the people who do all the accounting to keep track of the numbers and then report them when they feel like it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it'd be nice if there was a portal that I could go to where I could check to see. And I know this numbers are out there, right? Everything's tracked. So I could be just like, I can go on Amazon and see the numbers there, but that's very limited, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
why
That's
doesn't
just
a,
Amazon.
right? So why isn't there like a larger portal that sort of consolidates all that, and I can just go in and see what I've sold, where I've sold
Yeah.
it,
I kind of
and when
I
the
kind
next
of put
royalty
that
statement's
together,
coming.
like on a spreadsheet where it brings in from various sources, but it only makes sense kind of to my mind because it's not really set up to where anyone can just read it. It makes sense to me, which is like, okay. But every now and then I might post like this, that, and the other. If someone asks, I'll do it. That's fine. Hell, as soon as I receive royalties, but okay, I got this. This is your money and stuff like that. So,
The way you can tell that Jesse is on the level and he's a very honest and ethical publisher is that his Bentley is 3 years old.
I have a Bentley now.
He doesn't drive a new one. He drives a 3-year-old Bentley now.
I'm totally not driving a Toyota. I'm totally not driving a Pinto. Oh, okay. Okay. I know you aired a lot of grievances of ChiZine, but do you have any other grievances you'd like to air for the airing of the grievances? Because it's that time of the year, man. It's not Christmas. It's Festivus. Festivus for the rest of us. All right. I got a lot of problems.
I got a lot of problems,
and you're gonna hear it. All right.
My problem is like just as a writer, the publication process just feels so out of our hands, right?
Yeah.
And being more informed would help. I mean, we'll cloister ourselves away for a period of time, pound out a book, refine it, put it out there, and then when you hand it over to the publisher, then they can do something like put the wrong cover on it, and then they can do something like not be straight with you the numbers. And it's not just this one publisher, right? And the larger monster is, and the problem the publisher has is finding that audience. Marketing books is just such a nightmare, and as authors we have to do a lot of it ourselves. I'm in the process right now of trying to build an audience for the Faith Machine, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm tweeting because that's cheap. It's free, right? So yeah. I go to Buffer and I queue up a bunch of tweets. I take little sentences from the book that I think are really good, and I have a link to this. And that's the best idea I've had so far, and it's not working.
But you think, as a writer, you think, hey, publisher, that's your fucking job. You're not just either if you're not marketing my book, what the hell are you doing? Anybody can manufacture a book.
Especially
anybody can do that.
Like you can do it yourself.
You're supposed to be, you can do it yourself. You can go to Ingram Spark, you can go to Amazon, you can go to other places too. They'll manufacture the book for you. That's not complicated. That shit's been figured out. Publishers need to do the marketing. Writers hate fucking marketing.
They do. Now, as a small publisher, I see it as like we're both in it together. Like I'm gonna help out. Like I will load a Buffer. I will put a tweets too. I'll send that stuff out there. I will try to find ways to kind of maybe write on various hashtags because I want it to be seen by someone. Not be totally disingenuous. What does this book have to do with Star Wars? But I find ways to try to put it in someone's face, and that's what you're trying to do. Hey, check this out. You don't like it?
I totally agree about the transparency in the in the sales numbers. That would be a great thing across multiple markets.
You know what I'll tell you? I think other publishers are scared to show their numbers, not just because of what they have to pay, but because what it shows to other publishers. Like, oh shit, they're only getting that many sales. Oh fuck, god damn.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be public. You could be, log into a site and see just your numbers.
You know what though? It just takes one disgruntled intern to leak that numbers, though, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think you hit it on right. It's not that they necessarily want to hide it from the writer, but they want to hide it from each other.
Yeah.
And
by the way,
my sympathies are with people who have to do marketing, though, especially like a book like this. It's psychic espionage. Like if I wrote epic fantasy, the channels for marketing are there, right? There's epic fantasy communities.
You could totally hit up.
There isn't really a.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm looking, but I'm not finding like a kind of community that is into, spy-fi.
Spy-fi, maybe not. But since you're touching on things like they're kind of conspiracy oriented, like MK Ultra and stuff, there's a whole audience for that. It might not be your audience necessarily, but maybe a few of them might be. I don't know. Hit them up with that with a few.
I am thinking about how to tap into that. Yeah.
Then a few crafty memes or a few images using like MK Ultra style stuff, and maybe do like a quick video, like 1 minute video, whatever, like stylized, like that Illuminati, MK Ultra stuff, or government declassified, reports, whatever. Oh my God!
Right.
Like in this book, I did that for conspiracy theory or a conspiracy issue. Kind of worked.
Here's something I'm planning on doing. As part of the research for this book, I filed a freedom of information with the CIA, and I asked for information on psychic warfare programs. Excuse me. They sent me a DVD with 12,000 files on it.
Wow.
Oh man.
Some of those files are 460 pages, so I've got a lot of stuff to go through. But I'm planning on going. I have to figure. This is what getting my how to parse this up is the big challenge. But going through there, cherry picking interesting stuff, and finding some way to serialize that as part of the promotion for this book. That's probably the best idea I've had so far. But like I said, the challenge of how to do it is still something I'm getting my head around.
Okay.
That's a lot of stuff to read.
That is
Yeah.
a lot of content to go through. All right.
Yeah.
My grievance, what I need to air out. For any officer made it this far in the show, look, man, I don't have a thing against all officers, but you motherfuckers that pull someone over you block. I hate it when the cops pull someone over for speeding and they block like a block like a store. They block like the entrance to where you're trying to get to. Like they just freaking cock block it like that because of a speeding ticket. You pull over someone for speeding, what you're just gonna issue a ticket. You're just have a revenue for the city. But what you're doing though, you're blocking my way to. This happened when I was deer hunting with my dad. He got the deer. We're taking it to the deer processing place, but to go to the back, we had to go to the back of the building. But it just so happened that a cop pulled a couple over. They looked like middle-aged Hispanic couple. They looked like they're fine. They're just speeding, I guess. But the officer had to block the whole thing. So we're just sitting there, like, waiting with a dead deer in the back of the truck. Like, come on, man. Get out of the fucking way. Like, can't you write your ticket on the side of the road or something? Jesus Christ. Like, why are you doing that? I think it's worse, man. It gets worse. Because I'm sure, like, you've not had that experience at all. No.
Well, look, I got a gripe against speeding. Speeding tickets are just revenue generators.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
The whole ticketing process, parking especially.
oh,
Yeah,
come
it's
on.
all just it's taxation against the drivers. It's not about safety.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Those fucking red light cameras are the worst. They are not at all for safety. They actually make the intersections less safe. Accidents rates go up at every intersection where there's a camera. And it's all just sucking money out of your pockets.
It's like, so what if they were speeding? You could just let the couple go. And that's the thing that was going through my mind. I was like, man, you're blocking this. You're blocking our way to get in here. You're taking our time from our busy day, what we're trying to do. And the place was about to close. We're right there at closing time, right? To put the deer back there. But the cop was taking his time. Over what? Protecting us from what? A speeder? I mean, what was he doing? I mean...
Move out of the way and go to a parking space. Jesus, it's not tricky shit.
In a perfect world, we wouldn't even need speed limits, right? It'd be like, you know what? You just drive whatever you want.
You know what? Montana used to have that on the interstates. They didn't have speed limits for a long, long time. You just had to drive reasonable for the conditions.
That would be understandable.
So if you caused an accident, that wasn't reasonable, was it?
No.
And the feds made him change it.
Fucking feds. God damn it. Yeah, that's definitely one. Man, I have some thoughts about that too. Speeding. But yeah, that's my grievance I want to air out here. Is when cops want to take care of their business right in front of you. They want to cock block and block your way because they want to take care of an all-important speeding ticket. Thank you, officer, for keeping us safe. Awesome.
Yeah, and causing accidents in the process of keeping people safe.
In no time, you want to say something to the officer, but you're like, no, because he might,
No,
it might escalate.
not a good idea.
No,
Yeah,
never a good idea. He's like you said,
Sir,
SK,
calm down. Sir, calm down. I'm calm.
a revenue
You need to
collector
calm
with a
down
badge and a
right
gun.
now.
Not gonna argue with that.
My turn?
Yeah, your turn, SK.
Michael Vick.
That's a good one.
Oh, fuck Michael.
So
Vick.
Michael Vick was selected by the NFL to be one of the Pro Bowl team captains. And that motherfucker should never have been reinstated to the NFL, much less be a team captain at the Pro Bowl. In fact, somebody has started a petition collecting signatures to try and force the NFL to change their minds. Good job on the petition.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good job, NFL, trying to rehab this asshole's reputation.
Right?
He did unspeakable things with dogs personally, and he, supported and encouraged others to do similar things. I mean, just awful shit. It wasn't just fighting. He was brutal.
Didn't we just pass laws to make that criminal? I mean, those laws were already there, but
yeah, federal laws. Yeah,
make it federal felonies.
Lock him up. I mean,
well, he's not doing it now.
Well,
he went to jail for it.
That's right.
I mean, part of me does think that he's done his time.
Yeah.
But I like dogs so much that
he did do his time. I'm not asking him to be punished. I don't think he should be rewarded.
Yeah, I don't think so either. He can be kicked out.
Yeah, it's
entirely.
It's not something you want to associate your brand with. So put it in marketing terms.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But the NFL has yet to meet a scoundrel they didn't want to protect.
Right. Oh man. That's a good one, SK. That was good. We're towards the end here, but I need to do the caption contest. We have a caption contest we're supposed to do here. Let me just do it real fast.
Oh
no. Throw it here on the screen here. Okay. This is what we do here. This
started spinning.
Yeah, now it's reconnected. Okay, I don't know. Man, I stream every night. It's weird. It's like I'm cursed. I don't have issues unless I'm doing the Devin Stone podcast. Maybe I should just call it something different. Anyway. So, all right, the comments here are Scott S.O. Pratt says, "You mean to tell me that the leprechaun lives in there?" Okay. Ryan Woods, Officer Spanky points to the last place he saw his nightstick. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Ben Arzette. This is what JC Deadman masturbates to. Yeah, okay. You called me out there. And last one. They're magically...
Yeah, Jesse likes the man in uniform.
Hey, Tone, you got an opinion? You got a vote?
Well, in order to save computer resources, I closed my browser, so I'm not sure what you guys are looking at.
Oh, okay. Well, I can.
So you agree with me that it was the second one, right?
Okay.
You've never lied to me before, so I'm just going to...
Okay.